Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 197 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. This is your host, Jackson Mummy. I'm glad you're with us. Hope things are going well for you, and we're coming together as always on Wednesdays to talk about all things bar exam related. Now, we're in kind of an interesting period of the season, the bar exam season right now, and that is that we've had results coming out for a little while, about a month now, in some jurisdictions, some big jurisdictions like Florida and New York. We just got Texas results the end of last week, and I'm going to talk about those a bit today. And still ahead are Georgia, and of course the granddaddy of them all, California, and those will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So while all that's happening, we've also got people getting started with their July 2018 bar exams, and we've got some folks even studying for February 2019. So regardless of which of those groupings you fall into, whether you're waiting for results or you just got them, or you are looking ahead to July or next February, we're glad to have you with us. If this is your first time on the podcast, certainly want to welcome you and just let you know that we do these podcasts a couple of different ways. You can check out the video version of each week's podcast by going to our website, celebrationbarreview.com / and then the episode number. So this week's episode is 197. So just put that in and you'll see the video and all the show notes and links that you need. If you prefer to listen to the podcast, you can do that on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, or on iHeartRadio, or just about any place that podcasts are available. So make sure you check it out in whatever way is best for your particular circumstances. I also want to let you know before we jump into today's message and interview, and boy, I've got a great interview coming for you today. I want to tell you that we've got a live free webinar coming up called How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. This is a look at the powerful, proven way to pass. I'll be taking you through the 4 steps that successful bar takers follow. I'll be sharing with you lots of case studies, lots of examples, lots of information that you can use right away. Now, this webinar is so popular that we're actually doing it twice next week live on Monday night and on Thursday night. Both evenings will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 4 o'clock Pacific Time, and you can register for the date that meets your schedule just by going to our website or going to celebrationbarreview.com /webinar. You can also enroll right here from the video page if you're watching the video, and when you select that date, you'll be all enrolled. It's free, and we'd love to have you with us. Now, if Monday or Thursday night do not work for you, we also have an on-demand version of this same information. You can choose that button and select the date and time that works best for you. Of course, the difference is I'm not on live to answer your questions, but you can email me right within the webinar and we'll respond back to you. So however works best for you, we just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to check out this information. It is literally life-changing. We've had thousands of people go through this webinar, and I can only tell you that you won't regret that you spent the time to find out how to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Well, in today's episode, I have an interview coming up with get this, a 9-time bar taker who passed on her 9th try. She changed everything. She changed her bar review. She changed her approach to the study. She even changed her jurisdiction. And after 8 failures, she passed on her 9th try. Amanda Miljanovic is going to be with us, and we did this interview about a week or so ago, maybe 10 days ago, and we posted it on YouTube, and it went viral, like instantly. So it's one of the most successful, most popular interviews we've had, and I've done, I think now, something like 60 or 70 of these interviews in the last couple of years. They're on our website under the case studies page if you'd like to see them, but this one is really special, so I hope you'll stick around for that. Before I get to Amanda's interview, though, I did say that I wanted to talk about the Texas bar results, and let me just share some numbers and information with you. We just got this information out, so this is the first cut as we're looking at it. But here's what we know as of right now. The total pass rate, the overall pass rate for the February exam for Texas was 45%. That's a really, really low number. It continues the trend that I'm seeing around the country. Every major jurisdiction is showing a 50% or lower pass rate overall. This was true in Texas. the first-time taker pass rate was essentially 60%, and that's not a great number, to be honest. I mean, for first-time bar takers, we would expect better than 60%, but that's what they got. However, the pass rate for repeat bar takers was 32%, and there were 631 repeat takers and only 552 first-time takers. So we had more repeat takers than first-time takers, and that's the reason that the overall rate is as low as it is. Essentially, when you're looking at a 45% overall pass rate, that's a number that should give you some chills and shivers. Now, if you're still waiting for your bar exam results, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but so far we have an unbroken string of bad results coming across the country. Virtually every major jurisdiction, Florida, then New York, now Texas, along with a lot of other smaller jurisdictions, are all showing the same trend. For repeat bar takers, we're seeing a pass rate of around 30% or less. For first-time bar takers, we're seeing anything from about the, I would say, 45th percentile up to maybe 60 or 65%. I expect California will be worse than any of those on every measure. That's historically been the case. Georgia is kind of a crapshoot. There are fewer bar takers, but I still would expect a lower than 50% overall pass rate in Georgia. And of course, we still have some individual jurisdictions and UBE jurisdictions to release. Typically, however, they're not large enough that you can take a lot out of the statistics, but I would say that the trend is pretty clear. Now, what does that mean when we look at those numbers? What's behind those numbers? Well, I think the most significant thing, and I've been saying this for some time now, is that the traditional big box bar reviews, which prepare most of the students taking the exam, I mean, in Texas there were 552 first-time takers. My guess is that the big box companies prepared probably 450 of those people, which means that their pass rate is a whopping 60%. That's nothing to write home about. The traditional method of studying for the bar, of memorizing, reciting, and cramming, simply isn't very effective. That is being proven jurisdiction by jurisdiction, exam by exam. But the fact of the matter is, when you get to repeat bar takers, it's absolutely worse. As I said, in Texas, there were 630 bar takers who were repeaters. Only 32% of them passed. And when we actually look at where that breaks out in terms of in-state and out-of-state and attorneys, we actually see that the in-state repeat bar taker rate was only 36% in Texas, and the rest of the grouping was 27%. So it's even lower. And again, most of the people in that cohort are taking the big box bar review. So if that's what you have been doing, if that's where you put your faith and confidence in the traditional approach of memorize, recite, cram for 7 or 8 weeks, the bad news is statistically you're not likely to be successful. And if you fail the exam, the odds are really stacked against you. So what do? Well, we have exceeded those rates for repeat bar takers across every jurisdiction that's reported so far. And the reason is that we don't do the same thing that everyone else does. We take a different approach to studying, the one that we'll talk about on the webinar, the one that we talk about every week on the podcast. And I think when you hear Amanda's story in a moment, you'll get some inkling as to what makes that so different. But the point is, by changing what you do, you give yourself a chance. If you keep repeating the same behavior, you're clearly going to get the same results, and those results are going in the wrong direction right now. The exam is different. It is harder. It is a more difficult test than it used to be. We're seeing historically low rates. I think, in fact, this 45% overall pass rate in Texas may be the lowest in their history. So we clearly know that you need to bring new tools to the bar exam. You know, you can't come to the gun battle with a knife. It's just not going to work. And I think that's what too many people are doing. And so if there's a part of you that's been saying, oh man, you know, I just don't think this works for me to study the way everybody else has been studying, and it doesn't seem so good, but gosh, everywhere I look, I see their advertising. Be clear about this. The big box bar reviews are great marketers. They're lousy teachers. And they don't like it when I say it, but the numbers don't lie, folks. They really don't do a very good job. And they do a terrific job with their marketing, and they do a great job of making you think that that's what you have to do. But the reality is telling us a very different story. And that's true even when we get to the law schools that are trying to do bar prep. They're not being much more successful. They're first-time bar takers. Yeah, some of them are doing okay. But when we get to the repeaters, it's a train wreck. And the Texas numbers tell us that as well. As we go through all the schools in Texas, not a single school had better than a 50% pass rate. I'm sorry, SMU had a 53% pass rate for their repeat bar takers. Not very exciting. Those aren't numbers that you're going to write home about. So I think you want to really consider what you're doing and how you're doing it. Should you give up? No, absolutely not. Will the numbers be better in July? Yes, they will, because we'll have more first-time takers across all jurisdictions. And of course, if you're waiting for your results in California, Georgia, or another state, doesn't mean that you failed. I just want you to be aware that the numbers are not going to be good, and the media that's going to surround that is also going to be pretty negative. So just be aware of that, understand it, and know that you heard it here before it happened anywhere else, and so it's not going to be a surprise to you. Well, on that cheery note, I do want to pivot. My assistant June hates when I use the word pivot, but there you go. I said it again. I do want to talk about today's interview because it was a great, great interview with a woman that I think you're going to really fall in love with, just like everybody in our course did. Amanda Miljenovic had taken the bar exam 8 straight times in North Carolina, and she had failed. She'd used the big box bar review courses. She had done all the things that they told her to do. She'd made flashcards, she memorized, she recited the rules, she used IRAC style writing, and she could never get over the top. Then she found Celebration Bar Review, and on her 9th try, we talked about switching up and going to the uniform bar exam, in her case for South Carolina, but ultimately it didn't really matter what the jurisdiction was. We just wanted to get her into a UBE test site. We did that, and we changed the way she studied. Amanda took our basic coaching program, which is our most economical program. She added photo reading, which is something that many of you have heard me talk about, and you'll hear her describe it in this interview as well. She did what we asked her to do. She put away IRAC and memorization and recitation. She followed the writing approach, the study approach, and the test-taking approach, and she got a UBE score of 263. That was good enough to wave into 6 jurisdictions. And I don't think anything can match what you will, if you're watching the video, you will see the big smile on her face. But even if you're just listening, you will hear it in her voice. It is really extraordinary. After 8 tries at the exam, into your 9th try, and then passing is an extraordinary accomplishment, a great story, and she's a wonderful person. So I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. I want to jump into today's interview with Amanda and her story of the 9th try and how does she pass the UBE. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. We have a story and an individual you are going to love. Welcome to Amanda Miljenovic. Oh my gosh, I tried. I did, Amanda, you know. Did I get it right, Miljenovic?
That's right.
Okay, you know. But really, it's not your name that's hard to pronounce. It's the story that you've been on, because you are now a passing uniform bar exam bar taker. And what try was this?
This was the 9th try.
Okay. Yeah, folks, I want you to hear that. 9 tries. This lady hung in there for how many years?
5 now.
5 years. And just got your results that you've passed, and you've got the opportunity to wave into, I think, 5 or 6 states, right, with your score?
Yep, I can wave into 5 states, and then DC once I wave into one of those, so 6.
Okay, that's pretty exciting. So how are you feeling?
I'm still in shock. I wake up every morning and ask my husband, is this real life? Because to be quite honest, I can't believe it. It's been a long road, and I actually carried the letter around all last week to just keep double checking the score. Like
didn't change, did it? Yeah, it didn't change, did it? It's
no,
not a pen. It's not a Penn and Teller trick or a David Copperfield trick. The number stays the same.
I was hoping maybe I didn't read it right.
Yeah, there you go. See how funny how we train ourselves that way. Well, why don't we start kind of with your story and how you, how did we get to this point of being ready to take the exam and your success? But let's go back and tell us a little bit about the backstory.
Yeah, so I went to law school in 2010, and I've actually wanted to be a lawyer since I was 9. So it was always a huge goal, and I kind of always knew. I've been one of those people that just knew what I was going to do with my life, which is a blessing. And then it kind of became my curse because I couldn't pass the bar. I graduated a semester early, took extra courses during the summer, had a ton of internships in law school, and in 2012, December of 2012, I graduated a semester early and took that Florida, or not the Florida bar, sorry, I went to law school in Florida. Took the North Carolina bar in February of 2013 for the first time and failed it and was devastated, absolutely devastated. And to be quite honest, I had never failed at anything in my life, which I thought to that point was a blessing. And then this, just weight just was then on my shoulders. I was a failure. I graduated early, but for what? For nothing. I failed the bar. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything in my career. I was working at a large pharmacy there as a sales associate because nobody would hire me with a law degree but not licensed.
Yeah.
I was stuck in that limbo where people didn't want me because I had too much education, but I just couldn't find a job. It was a really, really rough road. And then, so then I kept attempting because I said to my husband, I don't want to quit. I worked my whole life for this. I took the big box bar reviews every time.
Mm-hmm.
I took them up on their free retakes every time. And then in 2015, I took one bar review course from 2013 to 15. Then I said, this isn't working. Let's take another one. So I took a different big bar box review course from 2015 until I found you in December of 2017.
Okay. So when you found our course, what was it about our course that stood out? Why did you decide to make the switch at that point?
I listened to one of your webinars. It was the last bar exam you'll ever take.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted that to be me. So that caught my attention. I said to my husband, you got to watch this. So he's not a lawyer, but I said, you've got to watch this. It's totally different. It's changed my mindset in 20 minutes. And to be quite honest, I just needed someone to say, it's not you and it's not this test, but we can teach you to pass this test. Because I was so down on myself that I just needed someone to say, let's take a whole mind approach instead of just let's memorize all these, information and let's just keep doing practice questions and let's keep writing essays. And the thing was never the big bar box reviews. I wasn't scoring well in those because I was in those reviews. And then they were shocked that I was failing. I even got a personal tutor in 2016 that I paid a lot of money for. And she was appalled that I failed the bar exam. Again, I think that was the 5th time. And, that's just what drew me to you guys. It was just a whole mind approach.
Yeah. Did you ever have a feeling that maybe you should just give up, that you should just put it away, it wasn't going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. About, I think it was my 5th time, I said to my husband, when do you decide that this isn't God's plan? This isn't, maybe this is my plan. And I'm Christian and spiritual. And I said, maybe this is my sign. Maybe this is my sign from the universe. If I can't pass it, maybe I'm meant to go do something else and help people in a different way. And maybe I needed to get a grip on that. And my husband's actually the one who pushed me to say, this doesn't define you. And it sure feels like it defines you.
Sure does. Sure does. So how did you sort of rediscover or discern that your path was still to keep at it? Because that's a big question. It's a question that comes up an awful lot for folks, and I want to dive a little bit deeper. I know it's really personal, but if you don't mind sharing, what was your discernment process at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I looked at that huge pile of student loan debt and had just decided that I couldn't let that pile up. It wasn't fair to my husband, who, married me during law school. He knew I was going to go to law school and get all, have that debt. That was a conversation. But I just decided it wasn't fair to him to saddle him with all that debt. And that's not the way he views it, but that's the way I had viewed it. And to be quite honest, I did know that I'm supposed to be an attorney. I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And I thought, God's not going to bring me from high school to 4 years of college to 3 years of law school and then take this bar 4, 5, 6 times to just leave me here in this interim space. And it really just clicked one day, and I said, I'm just going to keep trying something different every time until I can get this right. And clearly it was all worth it.
I've had students say to me over the years that they felt like there was this higher calling in their life, but also that we came into their lives for sort of, strangely, and that was the piece, that seemed to be missing. And I'm always pretty amazed by that, and humbled, certainly. But I have a feeling that more often than not, we might be that answer to prayer, that people are like, I just need to find something. And there may be somebody watching today who's saying, I know I need something, and I just want to encourage them. We're not right for everybody, but there are a lot of circumstances where somebody listening and hearing and viewing things differently can say, oh, maybe that makes sense. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. And the way I actually found you guys, that webinar is through podcasts. I am a huge podcast subscriber. And I was just looking for bar review podcasts because clearly the big bar box review lectures, I had watched them all, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm doing what they keep telling me to do, but on repeat, because this was my 5th, 6th, 7th time. So I've seen all this information multiple times. And so I started looking for podcasts on my own, found your webinar, and then found one of these interviews on the podcast.
Okay.
It's a sign.
Yeah. So we talked before we started, I asked Amanda, did you ever visualize doing this interview? And your answer was?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and here you are, right? That's a pretty cool feeling. All right, well, let's get into the studies just a little bit. You registered for our basic coaching program, which is our most economical program. So you didn't go all in, you didn't buy, the high-level tutoring or any of that, but you did add the photo reading piece. And I'd like to ask you about that and what that meant to you and what you thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did add on the photo reading piece, and I loved the course tells us to, when you get in the bar to photo read your MBE questions, because people were freaked out, and it just kind of made me laugh inside. It gives you a good laugh. You got to keep your sense of humor and all this. So I loved that. But
Good.
The photo reading course teaches you basically how to open your mind and then take in all the information on each page at one time, but quickly. I'm talking 400-page outlines in 20 or 30 minutes, just flipping through when it would take me hours and hours after my full-time job, coming home to read those outlines and memorize them and study them and highlight them and all of that craziness. So that was a huge time saver, but I also think that because you were able to take it all in at one time, I just recalled it a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Yeah. And were you able to finish all 100 questions of the MBE in 3 hours?
Oh yeah, something ridiculous. Like I left at least, I think 30 minutes early, maybe 45. When I looked at that clock, I was the proctors were shocked when you raised your hand. They're like, hey, I'm done.
Yeah. And that hadn't happened to you before, right?
No, I was using all full 3 hours. I was finishing the 100 questions in each session, but I was using literally every second and then going back and changing my answers if I had the time.
Yeah, okay.
Which I did not do on this exam.
Okay. And when you were writing your essays, how did you feel about knowing the law?
Oh, it felt natural. It just kind of came out, and I did the MPT and then the essays as well, and it felt so logical the way that you teach us to write and structure those essays, versus the IREC method. And it just kind of flowed better, if that makes sense.
So you're studying differently. You're using photo reading. Were you mind mapping at all, or were you just taking notes?
Yes. Yep, I was mind mapping.
Okay. So mind mapping is kind of a weird thing too, isn't it? It's like you're drawing pictures and prettier pictures still. And then you're going back and reviewing those. But the other thing that you were doing that I thought was really noticeable was that you were an active participant in our private Facebook group and in our group coaching calls. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when I did the other big bar box reviews, I didn't feel like there was any support. There was support from the proctors and people that were grading your essays. But there wasn't support and communication between people that were taking the bar exam. So I went to law school in Florida and then moved back to North Carolina, took the North Carolina bar exam. So I didn't know many people that were taking the bar exam in North Carolina. And then all my friends, by the time I had failed multiple times, they'd all passed. so I didn't have anyone to kind of commiserate with, and I don't want to mean it I don't mean it in a negative way, because the community with the study group on Facebook and then with the group coaching calls is very positive. But there are those moments where you can be like, I can't study another question. I can't look at another essay. I don't care what the rule against perpetuities is. I'm done. And everybody feels that way. And it's nice to know that if you're having a freak out on a Saturday and saying, I'm never going to pass this, I can't do this, that there's someone in that group that, I've made friends from in our, study group from California, Texas, Florida, New York, everywhere, Utah. Everybody is all over.
Yeah, I heard the virtual cheer when you passed. It was a big deal. I think that's an awesome thing. I think it's a very positive thing. Because it's an isolating experience, and it feels very much alone. And in your circumstance, which is a typical one for people that are repeating, it feels like everybody else has passed you by. We talk about getting your life back. I think for a lot of people, it feels like your life is just in hold, until, all those, the only thing that's not on hold are your bills, but, everything else is on hold. And so you feel like, and being able to share that with other people and kind of get that out of your system a little bit makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was just telling one of my girlfriends that is a repeat bar taker as well. It's one of those things that you don't understand the support that you need from other bar takers until you have it. I didn't realize that piece was even missing, because you're like, well, I can call the proctors at any point, what have you. The proctors aren't taking the bar exam again. Right. They're not taking it for the 9th time. Those people in the group that we're friends with and that you commiserate with and lift each other up. I have never been more proud of people that I have never met in my whole life. Just so many people that were passing this week and last week, and I was just so excited. I'm like, please just let me be one too.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing. And I got to say, from our perspective, we watch it, on the sidelines because we know, we know the backstories, and we're like, oh, yes. So when you passed, when I say there was a virtual cheer, there was, but on the Slack channels on the back end, my staff is going crazy. They're like, oh my God, and then it's going, all of a sudden my computer's just flashing, So that's pretty awesome. I want to talk a little bit about the strategy we employed, because one of the things that we decided to do early on was to switch you out of North Carolina and get you into the uniform bar exam. Now, It happened to be that South Carolina was the easiest place for you to sit for the exam. And I think sometimes people lose sight of this fact. It doesn't matter where you sit for the exam with the uniform bar exam. You could have gone to Colorado or Minnesota. You could have gone to New York. You could have gone to, there's a lot of places, right?
Right. I
so
think
people kind of get
29 jurisdictions now.
Yeah, and another 3 coming on board. So sometimes people get this in their mind, I'm sitting for the South Carolina bar. Well, kind of, but you're really sitting for the uniform bar. So you took it in South Carolina, and it's a 2-day exam. It's not state specific. So it's a very different experience than you had in North Carolina, right?
Correct.
The test is different in that sense. The MBE is the same performance test, but the essays are certainly different and a different approach. What did it feel like, actually, let me back up. Why did you like that strategy? What was it about that strategy that made sense to you?
So it made sense to me because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah.
I was changing up my bar course. I was changing up, the jurisdiction because I needed something different. North Carolina clearly wasn't working, and their passage rates, truth be told, are continuing to go down.
Yeah.
So I just said, we've got to do something different. And so when we decided on South Carolina, to be honest, that opened up a whole new ball game, because if I passed the UBE, even, if I did pass in the 6 jurisdictions, look, if I had passed in North Carolina this time, it'd be one state. One.
That's it. One. Which is kind of, yeah. And suddenly you start going, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And your score, you were telling me before we went on, for the UBE was a 263, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's a pretty good score. That gets you, into 6 jurisdictions. It probably gives you enough that you could sit for the Florida only part of the Florida exam if you were crazy enough to do that. Yeah, talk about crazy. But it gives you this opportunity to be licensed now in those jurisdictions. And does it really matter all that much where your license is?
Not to me.
Yeah, see, that's the point. And I think people kind of lose sight of this. They think, I've got to be in this state only. But the truth is that the way law is being practiced today, if you are a member of the Minnesota bar and you're living in North Carolina, it makes little or no difference for most of the legal work that you want to do. Plus, tell our audience, how does it feel to have ESQ behind your name?
It feels insane. I can't believe it. I have the most amazing friends that are sending me plaques and these beautiful, things that all say Amanda Miljanovic, ESQ. Esquire feels good.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to get that out there to folks, because I know that this strategy, we kind of pushed this strategy early on, and I got a lot of heat, a lot of pushback from people saying, "Oh, you got to sit for the one exam. You got to sit there. You got to make that exam." I was like, I don't think so. I mean, let's be smart about this. The point is to get over the hill. If you get over the hill, it changes everything for people. And you are the next in a very long line over the last few years of people who've done just that. And I can tell you, the results have been absolutely wonderful for people. They were so fixated on a state, and then they switched, got them over the top, and it's like, oh, wow. Like the sun's shining over on this side of the mountain.
And the cool thing about that MBE with the the UBE, the strategy that we, I did with you is that if I wanted to go and retake it because I want to be barred in, New York because they have a higher score. If I want to be barred there, I can go and take the UBE again. And I'm going as a licensed attorney,
It's a big difference.
Yes,
Yeah.
confidence level is just through the roof. So if I wanted to do that, I could. But North Carolina allows me to waive in with my Minnesota in 4 years. So
see, it's a whole different world. And the truth is, you're only 3 points off of a New York, New Jersey, DC. DC you'll get in. New York, New Jersey license right away. So. Right. This is pretty amazing. So this was a big jump in your scores. It was a different way of approaching things, and you didn't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars, right?
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
So take that, big box bar reviews. All right, sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm having so much fun with your story, Amanda. This is way cool. All right, so you take the exam. And different experience, obviously finishing earlier, feeling more confident, all of those pieces. But now you got to go back and wait. And you've been through this waiting period a lot of times. I like to ask people about the waiting period because I think it's probably when most folks have to come face to face with their greatest fears. Is that a safe statement?
Absolutely. My greatest fear at the time is getting that letter in the mail for the nighttime that says, "Sorry, you failed."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, results come out. Tell me what happened. Tell me what that was about.
So I'll tell the South Carolina portion of my story. I live right on the North Carolina-South Carolina line. So I can practice in North and South, and that's what a lot of attorneys do here, just because you want to be flexible like that. So I actually got the results, not this past Friday, but the one before. They weren't supposed to come out until like May 8th. I got the results. I got an email that said the results are coming, and they'd be posted at 4. So I'm driving in the car actually to New Jersey. My husband's family lives up there. So we were on our way to New Jersey, and in the car I got the email that says they're posted. I opened up my phone, and my name wasn't there. And it was devastating again. So I did feel that failure right away. And I said to him, I felt like this time was different. I don't know why I failed. This time was different. I know it was. I worked on myself. We did the daily affirmations. I literally just took them down yesterday. They were on my bathroom mirror. They were on my entryway mirror. They were everywhere. They were in my car. So I had all of those. I really did think I was going to see my name on that pass list. And then Monday rolls around, so last Monday, and I get the letter from South Carolina that says, "Here's your score." Well, my score didn't pass in South Carolina, but it was a 263 and passed in 6 other jurisdictions, so I technically passed.
Yeah, that's when I got the email. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I told you that. So I wanted to share that story. I know it's a little embarrassing, but I wanted to share it because I want people to understand that when you're sitting for the UBE, you've got to take a broader view. And I think yours is a great example of that. Yes, it would have been wonderful if you'd had, was it 266 you needed in South Carolina? Yeah.
Correct.
So you're 3 points off, okay, which is not a lot. But you don't get that. But you get a score that lets you wave into all these other jurisdictions and do what you want to do. It's unbelievable, and it just takes a couple days to get it processed through. So don't lose heart, folks. I mean, you got to take this bigger view, just as Amanda did, and then you start to see it. And no matter what words I'm saying here, you got to see the smile on this woman's face to know that she's pretty happy with this result.
Oh,
so
I was smiling.
I like that. So this is really exciting stuff. When you figured all this out, obviously you tell your husband, right? What was his reaction? Because he's been your biggest supporter here in all of this.
Yeah, he has just been the most amazing supporter. Those people that tell you, okay, maybe this is the time to quit. That was never him. He said, I know he literally tells me, you're one of the smartest people I know. You need to do this for you. Don't do it for me, do it for you. And he was it was a perfect storm, and it was a godsend again. So he was with me when I got the news, and I was so devastated on Friday. Monday rolls around. I had to take a personal day from work because the ninth time just kind of did me in for a little bit, and I just needed a break. And so I took the day off work, and I was here when the mail came, which never happens because I'm at work. And my husband was working from home. He got home at 2 o'clock. Well, the mail came at 3, and we're never home together during the workday ever. And I took the personal day. He was here working from home. I got the mail, opened up the letter, sat down on my kitchen floor and cried, a good cry, and ran into his office. And he, deals with clients and is usually on the phone and all of that. I said, are you on the phone? Are you on the phone? He said, no, like, it's okay. And I said, read this. What does this say? Because I couldn't even process it. I knew it said 263, but I wasn't quite sure. Was I reading this right? Was I manifesting this into existence? Were my eyes playing tricks on me? He said, it says 263. He said, that means you can be barred in some jurisdictions. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to look them up, which ones? And I was screaming and crying, and he was just hugging me, and it was the moment that I've been waiting for 9 times, 5 years. It was insane.
I got nothing, man. Folks, if this doesn't, I'm like, I don't cry, but I'm about to.
I've cried so much in the last week. I can't believe it. And, we had already told my family, his family, my friends, my attorney friends that have all passed, they knew I was getting the results soon, and they check in on me about once a week and said, hey, what is it? We know you've passed this time. And they were also sure too. And you always feel like you're letting them all down, because you're letting yourself down, but you also feel like you're letting all the people that have brought you to this point in your life and carried you through when you couldn't carry yourself through, you feel like you have let all of them down. So not only is your life on hold, I've put my husband's life on hold, and now I've let my family down, his family down, and all of my friends. So I told him all that I had failed. And I just said, I'm not taking it again. I'm done. This is clearly a different road for me. I'm not taking it again. And by Sunday, before I got the results, my husband's like, we know you're taking it again. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And he was like, you were, we didn't know the score then. He's like, you've got to be close. You can take this UBE again. It'll be a different ball game. Call Jackson, call Kelly, get something set up. You can do this again. And I said, I know, I can do it. I've got to do it. I'm so close, I can feel it. And then that letter came on Monday.
I am so proud of you. It's a fabulous story. I say this sometimes to people when they've struggled to get over the bar. You are exactly the person I want as my lawyer, because you won't give up. And that's what I want in a lawyer, somebody who fights, has the passion for what they believe in, has the passion to do what they know they're committed to doing, what they know they should be doing in life. That is who you want as a lawyer. I don't think I really want the person who goes, I didn't really care. I took the bar, I passed. I mean, okay, fine, good on you, right? Yeah. But,
I just took it. I took a week off work and decided I'd go take the whatever bar. And I'm like, that's so nice of you. That's
right. Right. I really want fighters. I want passionate people, and I think you're one of those. I know that in our Facebook group, one of the great things is that we have past students who are successful who stick around and offer support. I know you're planning to do that,
Yes.
and I think that's going to be like an awesome thing. I believe you're going to be a guest speaker at some of those group coaching calls.
I probably already reached out. I might be on this Sunday.
Okay, see, there you go. All right. So I mean, I knew like. I just want to thank you, and thank you for sharing your story, for being so transparent and so open about what you've done. I think watching your future is going to be really fun because you are going to be incredibly successful. My experience has been when somebody bursts through like you have, not only do they get their life back, but they get it back in a big way. There is a manifestation of that. There is a, if you're spiritual as you are, I would say that there is an expansion of your, let me expand, when I get back. It's sort of the Lot story,
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is that sense that you will have great opportunities, but also great compassion and great understanding for when other people struggle, and that makes it really significant. If there will be people watching this interview, Amanda, who have failed the bar a lot of times,
Yeah.
and are very discouraged and saddened and frustrated, and I know they're going to be encouraged by what they've heard, but if you're speaking to them directly, what would you say right now to those folks?
I would say that ditch the big bar box review now. One, and that's not, I'm not trying to promote you. I'm just saying you have got to give up the big bar box review. It kind of stuck with me that they offer a, money back guarantee if you don't pass. Why? I mean, that's great. But when the bar passage rates are 30 to 40% in a lot of the states in the United States, I mean, that's really bad odds that you're going to have to retake it. And I would also say, give yourself a little bit of grace. I have always pushed myself and had this, I had this plan and felt like I put, my life on hold and my husband's life on hold. And I would just say, don't let go of that guilt. You're doing the best that you can, and you are doing everything that you know to do in your power, and that sometimes you have to change it up. Sometimes you have to do a little something different, just like the UBE. Sometimes you have to take a different bar review course. Sometimes it could be something as little as you got to study in the morning versus the evening. I don't know. It's just you have to do something. But most of all, I think you have to find your confidence again. And that's what your course really showed me, is that by doing those daily affirmations, the paraliminals, and doing the support in the Facebook group, doing that kind of stuff really brings you back to, wait, okay, I passed law school. I am smart. I do good things for people. I want to do this profession because I want to help people. And you have already come so far. And you said that in one of the webinars. And I burst into tears. And I was listening to it on my way home from work. And I thought, maybe I should pull over, because I was listening to the replay. And I thought, maybe I should pull over so I don't have a car accident. But you have to get to the spot where you are okay with this point. And you said, all you have to do is remember how far you've come. And that has just resonated with me, because no one has looked at me and said, it's okay to be in this spot. And it's okay to have to taken the bar 9 times. And that doesn't make you any less than. The big bar box reviews that I would really like to name don't say that. They don't say that it's okay to be you. Nobody says it's okay to fail and to get back up.
Yeah.
I just recently told my employer, who I've been with for 3.5 years now, that it took me 9 tries because I was so ashamed. And I would say you have to find your confidence, and don't be ashamed. We all have a different journey. So
man.
Just have some confidence and a little faith and grace.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, folks, now you know who the new motivational speaker is going to be at Celebration Bar Review. It's not me.
For you guys, you have no idea.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. So now you're making me cry too. Don't do that, Amanda.
Phone interview.
yeah. No. I want people to. You're the real deal, And I'm so thankful. I'm so glad that we could be on this journey with you. I'm glad that you were led or found us. And I know that you will be an inspiration to so many folks. This interview is going to go crazy. I can tell you that right now. I've done enough of these that I just know it's an extraordinary story that you've got. But the real extraordinary story is just who you are and where you're going to go. And so that's why it'll be fun. We'll check in with you periodically and see what's happening. But thank you again, and congratulations. I hope that smile stays on your face for a very long time.
Thank you so much. You guys have no idea. I'm just so grateful from the bottom of my heart. And whether I found you guys or I was led to you or however the universe brought me to you guys, it literally, when I say you guys changed my life, I'm wholeheartedly, I mean it. Literally, you have changed my life. And I am just so, so grateful. So.
Well, thanks. Well, folks, I got nothing. This has been so much fun and so great. So to our audience, thank you for being with us today. I hope that Amanda's story has inspired and lifted you up the way it has me. And we'll see you again next time when we talk to another successful bar exam taker. And for now, we'll say goodbye. Take care, everybody. Well, that's our interview and episode for today. Amanda is amazing, isn't she? And I tell you, I really did cry during the interview, and she did too. If you weren't watching, it was pretty emotional, but in a great way. And I know she's going to be really successful. A lot of people have contacted me just since this interview came out to say, wow, is there hope for me? Can I do it? And I think Amanda's story tells you, yes, there absolutely is hope. And she's going to be a great attorney. Now, I want to just remind you before we wrap up that we've got a free webinar, and she mentioned it actually in the interview. It's called How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. We're doing that on Monday night and Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. You do need to register, so make sure you get to our website at celebrationbarreview.com/webinar. Or if you're watching on video, just scroll down this page, claim your free seat, and you'll be good to go. If those two dates don't work for you, there's also an on-demand version, so make sure you check that out. Now, next week when we come back, we may have some Georgia results. I think we'll have California results probably in the on the books by the time we record. We're going to hold off until we get those results so we can tell you a little bit about them. So if you're waiting for those results in those states or any other state, good luck to you. We hope it's a great outcome and a good result for you. If it's not, keep your head up. Don't give up. I think that's the lesson of today's episode. And we will see you on the pass list and along the extra mile in the very near future. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.